The morning of her disappearance began like any other. The sun was just breaking over the horizon, spilling gold across the empty streets. She tied her sneakers tightly, adjusted her smartwatch, and slipped out the front door. For neighbors who caught a glimpse, it was nothing unusual. She had been running this same route for years. It was part of her identity. Predictable, ordinary, safe. But on this day, something was different. When she failed to return home, her family didn't panic at first. Maybe she had decided to extend her run. Maybe she stopped to chat with a friend. But as the minutes turned into hours, worry crept in. Calls to her phone went unanswered. Text messages showed delivered, but unread. By mid-morning, her absence had gone from puzzling to alarming. Then, the first clue surfaced. A group of joggers on the same trail stumbled upon a phone lying face down in the mud. The screen was cracked, but the running app was still tracking her route. Frozen in time at exactly 6:47 a.m. Just a few feet away, her shoe was discovered. Its laces weren't untied. They were torn, as though ripped violently from her foot, and she was nowhere to be found. The quiet suburban neighborhood was instantly transformed into a crime scene. Police cordoned off the trail. Dogs were brought in. Drones swept the woods. Her family clung to hope, but investigators knew the odds were shifting with every passing hour. This was no simple accident. Something had interrupted her morning routine in a way that defied explanation. The shadow in the background. Detectives began piecing together the days leading up to her disappearance. Neighbors were questioned. Security cameras from nearby homes and businesses were pulled. At first, nothing stood out. Just a lone woman jogging day after day, morning after morning. But then, something chilling appeared. In multiple recordings, a shadow lingered. A figure never close enough to make out clearly, but always there. A car that parked a little too long near her street. A silhouette that appeared briefly behind her in grainy footage, then vanished into the trees. This wasn't random. She had been watched. The idea that someone had been studying her, learning her routine, and waiting for the perfect moment sent shivers through the community. Who would do this? And why her? A familiar face. The answer came from the unlikeliest place, just a few blocks away. When investigators canvassed the area, a name kept surfacing. A man in his early 40s, described as quiet, polite, always keeping to himself. Neighbors remembered seeing him wave at her occasionally as she passed his yard on her morning runs. He blended in so well that no one ever questioned him. But when detectives reviewed his alibi, cracks began to show. He claimed he had been asleep at the time she vanished. But his phone records told a different story. His device had pinged near the jogging trail minutes before her phone stopped recording. And then came the computer. Inside his home, detectives found an unnerving collection of files. Among them were hundreds of photos of her, taken without her knowledge. Some from a distance, some close enough to capture details no one else would have noticed. And alongside these images were searches. Dark, chilling searches about abduction, control, and how long it takes for someone to vanish without a trace. The man who called himself her neighbor had been studying her every move. The web of lies. As the investigation deepened, contradictions poured in. Friends of the suspect described him as kind, reliable, even shy. He volunteered at community events. He looked after his elderly mother. There was nothing outwardly alarming about him. But police soon uncovered a second life, one hidden in encrypted chats and secret social media profiles. Under false names, he had joined forums where men shared obsessions about tracking women. He wasn't just a lurker. He was an active participant. He had bragged about following runners, described methods of surveillance, and even hinted at how to erase digital footprints. This wasn't a crime of opportunity. It was premeditated. And yet, even with this mountain of disturbing evidence, the most shocking discovery was still to come. The chilling connection. Weeks after her disappearance, detectives received a break. Forensic experts had recovered partial DNA from the torn shoelaces found on the trail. When they ran the sample through the system, it matched. But not just to the suspect. It also matched to an unsolved case from nearly a decade earlier. Another woman, another jogger, another morning run that ended in silence. The community that once believed they were safe was forced to confront a horrifying truth. This wasn't the first time, and it might not be the last. But then came the detail that shook the case wide open. While reviewing her smartwatch data, investigators noticed something unusual. The app had recorded her heart rate spike dramatically seconds before the tracking stopped. At the same time, GPS showed a sharp deviation off her usual route, just a few yards into the woods. It was as if she had been pulled suddenly from the path. But the real bombshell was buried deeper in the data. A faint audio recording, accidentally captured by the phone's microphone, revealed a chilling fragment of sound. Heavy breathing, muffled words, and the unmistakable scuffle of a struggle. The voice in the background matched the man who had called himself her harmless neighbor. Police arrested him, but as they searched his home further, they stumbled upon something even darker. A hidden basement, sealed off from the rest of the house. Inside were personal items, none of which belonged to him. Jewelry, clothing, even driver's licenses. A collection of trophies from women who had vanished without explanation. But among the items was one object that stunned investigators. A set of keys. Her keys. And yet, even with this overwhelming evidence, one question still lingered. Because she had not been found. Was she still out there, trapped somewhere waiting to be discovered? Or had this neighbor's obsession already taken a final, irreversible turn? The truth was closer than anyone dared to imagine, and the next discovery would be more chilling than anything they had uncovered so far. This story was far from over.